Which one of these star trackers is right for you? Today, we're going to answer that question. Full disclosure, this isn't really a technical review of each tracker. They all work well, and this is more of an overview of the usability functions of each one to help you decide which one's right for you. So before us, we have 3 awesome star trackers that can be used to photograph the night sky with really long exposures without getting any star trailing, because they actually spin your camera to follow the stars throughout the night sky. Now these all may look pretty similar, but there's some major differences we need to take into consideration when we're making a purchase. Now I've been fortunate enough to spend many hours with all 3 of these star trackers, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of how they work and which one of these is best for which situation. If you would like to pick up any of these items, I have links down below. You can grab that Skywatcher Star Adventurer or the Nomad or Move Shoot Move from Amazon, or you can buy directly from the company at moveshootmove.com using the links down below. If you do go through moveshootmove.com, please use the discount code Alex at checkout. It gives you a small discount and gives me a small bonus as well, so I appreciate that very much. The first decision you need to make is exactly what type of astrophotography are you looking for? Are you looking to use something like this, a nice wide angle lens, and get really broad landscape photos with the Milky Way or with perhaps Orion or something like that? Or are you looking to use a lens more like this one? This is the 300mm lens from Olympus, which acts like a 600mm. So with this lens, you can do some proper deeper space photography. Now I ask that because which style of photography will really dictate which direction you want to go with your trackers. On this side, we have the Skywatcher Star Adventurer, and this is going to be much better at handling these longer lenses. Not only is just built a little bit bigger as a heavier payload, it comes with a really sturdy base, and this base is awesome because it has gears, so when you're aligning this to the North Star, you can make really fine micro adjustments, and this can hold a lot of weight. Another thing that's really nice is that the polar scope is built in, and it's shooting straight through the center of the Skywatcher, so it is just a little bit more accurate that way. Another awesome thing with this is that it comes with 2 different ways that you can attach your ball head and attach your camera. The first way is with this little plate that slides right into here, and that tightens down, and on top of that you can install your ball head right here, and then your camera fits nicely right on top. This is awesome for wide angles, so it still is really adaptable. You can put a camera with a lens like this, the 7-14, on top of this setup and get really accurately tracked photographs. But if you want to use a heavier lens and a heavier setup, even up to a smaller telescope, you can do that by installing this declination bracket. So this bracket is awesome for a few ways. One is that it has a 1/4-20 screw built into it, so you can actually attach your camera, and especially if your big long lens has a tripod collar, you can attach that right to this bracket. And doing that allows you to make micro adjustments, really fine tune exactly where your lens is pointed, because trust me, at 600mm, making really small adjustments makes a big difference to your field of view. So this is a really nice way of holding this camera, but if you can't tell, it's getting, good catch, it's getting a little out of balance. So this is going to put a lot of strain on this tracker, and on any of these trackers having this much weight set up off to the side of the camera. So thankfully, Skywatcher has a really nice counterbalance system that can help with just this problem. But I'm cheap, so I made my own. It's essentially a weight that just sits off to the side of the tracker. And when you get this installed and properly balanced, now see, hands-free, no more tipping, this will counteract the weight of the lens or the telescope that's pulling onto the side of the tracker and level everything out. So you can have really low strain on the gears and really accurate tracking. So if you are looking for longer lenses and you don't really need the portability of one of these tiny trackers, I would look for the Skywatcher Star Adventure. If you want to pick one of these up, there's affiliate links down below, which help me out a lot. Another thing we can talk about is battery life. The Skywatcher can be ran with 4 AA batteries, which last forever. It can also be ran off of a battery pack. So battery life with this system is much, much better. But again, it's bigger, those batteries are heavier, and unless you get rechargeable AA's, you can't really just plug your tracker in to recharge it, where the Nomad and the Move Shoot Move have rechargeable batteries that you can plug in a USB-C to the side, and when the light turns from orange to green, you know you're good to go, and the battery life is good. Yes, I have ran out of battery on them, but if you ever do that, you can bring along a portable battery pack. And this is something I'll have with me anyways. It can power my phone, it can power my headlamp, it can power my tracker, my camera can charge off of this. So this is a pretty practical thing to bring with you, is that portable battery pack, and you can actually have the Move Shoot Move and the Nomad run exclusively off of this. If their batteries completely die, you don't have to stop working as long as you have a backup. Now, if you're not going to be using big heavy lenses, you don't want to worry with the counterweight system. You want a star tracker that's more portable, more light, takes up less space in your bag. We're going to look at these two awesome trackers from Move Shoot Move. Now, before we get into talking about just these two, I wanted to mention that with that Skywatcher Star Adventure, Move Shoot Move has made a laser bracket that can actually hold the laser right onto the polar scope. You can turn this laser on and it sends a perfectly straight beam out into the night sky. So this lets you do a rough alignment. So if you are going with a Skywatcher, I would really recommend picking up one of these. It will greatly improve your speed and accuracy polar aligning, because you get a rough alignment using the laser, and then you fine tune it using the polar scope. All right, now to these trackers from Move Shoot Move. So these two trackers are really awesome if you want to be able to honestly go backpacking, if you want something that's light and can still do a really good job at tracking the stars. Here we have the Nomad, and here we have the older version of the Move Shoot Move. Now, deciding between these two can be a bit trickier because they both have similar weight capabilities, although the Nomad has a few features that help it to hold a bit of a longer lens. The main difference between these two trackers is actually in the name Move Shoot Move. So this older version, this boxy version of the Move Shoot Move, actually has that time-lapse rotator function where it will spin your camera at predetermined rotational degrees every time your camera takes a photo. So it can make a really interesting time lapse with some cool motion. Now, the downside to this is it is a little bit tricky to work with mirrorless cameras, but if you want to see a full tutorial on how to make time lapses with the original Move Shoot Move, you can watch this video right here. But other than that, if we're talking strictly about star tracking, and you don't really want to be making those daytime motion time lapses, I'm gonna point you into the direction of the Nomad. Now let's just talk really quickly about the similarities. Both of these can rotate in the north and south directions. Both of them can charge by a USB-C cable, and they can both be run off of a power brick, just like this one. They both can be aligned using a laser, a cell phone, a polar scope, but that's about where the similarities end, and that's about where the Nomad starts to take over. The system for using a laser or a polar scope with the Move Shoot Move, while it does work well, I've gotten really accurate results with it. It's just a little bit dated and a little bit clunky compared to the Nomad, which has a more integrated setup. So with the Move Shoot Move, you'll get something like this. It's a bracket that can hold the laser and the polar scope. You clamp it right onto the side of the tracker and tighten it down using these little white screws. And once you have this all set up, you use your laser to get that rough alignment, then you can fine tune it with the polar scope. That is really nice, but I love so much more how it works over here on the Nomad. So let's check that out. With the Nomad, it works a little bit more like that Skywatcher was. On the back, you can see this little red screw. You can take that off, and that is actually where the laser shoots through the device itself. With your Nomad, you can pick up one of these little laser adapters. You screw that in, And then your laser, the tip of it can be removed and these threads go right into the rotator. So now you are completely confident that the laser is shooting perfectly straight through the Nomad. But what if you want to use a polar scope? Well, Move Shoot Move has made this little bracket that works right in conjunction with your laser. So using that same red threaded bracket, you can set the polar scope bracket on there, and it has a definite pattern here, so you can make sure that it's set just how it's intended to. Then you screw this laser in. Now you can set your polar scope right through that hole. And again, you're using your laser and your scope all at once. So that is a really nice alignment system from the Nomad tracker. Something else the Nomad has that the Move Shoot Move doesn't is a built-in Arca Swiss connector right at the bottom. It's a dovetail sort of setup and it works in both directions. If you want to set it up pointed that way, or if you want to set it up pointed that way. This is a really nice advantage over the Move Shoot Move because on the Move Shoot Move, you need to attach your own Arca Swiss or dovetail or whatever you need to use to mount it. Now, one thing, if you are a Manfrotto tripod user, you might need to go with something like the Move Shoot Move because the Nomad bottom bracket won't work with every Manfrotto tripod mount, but if you're not into that different sort of mounting setup, if you have the standard Arca Swiss setup, the Nomad is for sure the way to go. Now, I did mention that I really love this base, this wedge for the Skywatcher, but don't think that that's the only good way of mounting your tracker. Move Shoot Move makes a smaller, more compact geared wedge that works a lot like the Skywatcher does. But the really nice thing about both of these trackers is that they're not limited. You can set up your Move Shoot Move or your Nomad with a ball head. Now, even something like this V-plate from Alan Wallace can be used to attach your Nomad or your Move Shoot Move to a tripod. I don't love going this direction. I don't really love going the ball head direction. I like having the gears to really fine tune your alignment. But if you are trying to save as much space as possible, just look how much space that takes up. It's really, really, really compact. So wrapping up, who are these trackers for? Well, if you want longer lenses, even some telescopes, you don't mind the extra weight, go with a Skywatcher. It is an awesome, awesome tracker. But if you are someone more like me who doesn't just like shooting from their backyard, you want to get out into nature, into the mountains, and still be able to capture really high quality, detailed images of the stars, I'm going to point you in the direction of either the Move Shoot Move or the Nomad. Now, who should buy the Move Shoot Move? Who should buy the Nomad? If you want to create those daytime time lapses, definitely go with the Move Shoot Move. It has that function that the Nomad is lacking. However, if you're not into making those time lapses, this Nomad is the winner for sure. And one of the features I haven't shown you guys yet, but really sets the Nomad above the Move Shoot Move is actually how you attach your ball head to the tracker. So on the Move Shoot Move, it just came with the stud here that you would screw your ball head or your V-plate onto. And some people would have the issues of them coming unloose and coming unscrewed. So with this Nomad, the company has completely fixed that problem. So this plate comes apart and you can attach a ball head directly to it. So the way you do that is you keep it somewhat attached here. You can get your ball head spun on here, tighten that down, and it even has a little set screw in the bottom, and an Allen key is provided in your kit. So you can use that Allen key to tighten this set screw and really make sure you're nice and secure. So your ball head is never gonna come off of this plate, and this plate is never gonna unscrew from the rotator because on the bottom it has these little teeth. Ooh, that was a good pop. And these teeth can go right on there, and then you screw it into position. So now there is no way this ball head is ever gonna unscrew from this tracker. So for me, the Nomad really is the winner. The laser, the scope, the way the ball head mounts on there, the size of it, the ability to charge it with a USB-C. Yeah, this is one of the coolest little trackers I've ever used. It can't really replace the Skywatcher if you want to put a huge lens on it, but I've shot with 200mm lenses on this little device at about 60-second exposures and gotten really, really solid results. So yeah, the Nomad is my personal favorite, but you can't go wrong with any of them. If you want to see more about how I use the Nomad, I'm currently working on a project to photograph the 58 tallest mountains in Colorado, all under the night sky. So hit subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want to see more about that. Please leave me a comment with any questions you have or which tracker you are most interested in using, and maybe we can answer some questions and learn some more from each other. All right, I am done. Watch this little time lapse I got at the end of this video. I hope it's been helpful. Give me a thumbs up. Bye, bye, bye.